Hey everybody, this is Moonfruit and this is my Vivarium/MACE 2023 Eyecandy Tour video. I hope you enjoy. The first vendor I came across was Ricordia Farm, who, as the name suggests, had a bunch of Ricordia Florida for sale, which I absolutely adored. But I pretty quickly got distracted when I spotted a certain coral that is, or rather was, the #1 LPS on my wishlist, a golden nugget Bernard Bora. Naturally, I had that one backed up right away, and I thought it was pretty cool to find the coral I wanted most about 10 minutes after showing up. Happy as can be, I continued browsing through all the zoanthids that Shab and Kuran had to offer. I remember they were there last year as well, and they did not bring any less zoanthids to the show this time. They also showed off some fancy mushrooms that did, however, demand a higher price tag. Next up is Ocean Shop, which I believe is a new store from the Netherlands. They were really nice and they had an exquisite collection of LPS corals. This pretty fungia with the contrasting tentacles is maybe not the rarest variety, but it really stood out. Some torches for the collectors like this Holy Grail or this gorgeous pink tip torch. What really impressed me though was the nice variety of different Favias, Goniastrias, Cyphastria and other encrusting corals. Here I ended up purchasing the classic Jason Fox Burning Banana Stylus Signella, which I have seen for the first time in person and I just couldn't resist. This was the first display tank you got to see when entering the show. It was set up by Diong Marine Life, and I have to say I was a little bit disappointed compared to the amazing tank they set up last year, but nonetheless it had some very beautiful Anthias and a lot of large colonies to show. It's very interesting how you can really notice all the differences in coloration of those Micromusa lordhauensis once you look up close. This particular one with the gold center was certainly my favorite of the bunch. It's also really cool to see how larger colonies of that species grow into these very flat looking pillow shapes. I also don't think I could ever get enough from looking at this picture perfect and super lush splatter hammer. Diong Marine Life also brought a very large coral flat with all sorts of LPS colonies, loads of Blastomusa, Echinophilia and some really cool Cycloceras that piqued my interest. But very apparent were the Goniastria that showed some truly unique neon green splatters and even one with teal splatter. They almost made me miss that perfectly round colony of Diploastria right in between. Those red UFO bowers were something really cool to see, and they even had some grafted bowers with green and teal splashes. My favorite by far though were a couple of super nice Lobophilia valenciennici that were kind of hidden off to the side. If I had more space in my tank, I would have loved to pick that one up. Very few people brought cool Acropora to the show, let alone aquacultured ones, but Leonardo's Reef was stocking some seriously fire Acros. Tons of super colorful, ultra fuzzy, rainbow tenuis and millipora, and it's crazy how orange some of them were in person. Acros in every shade of the rainbow, and all pest-free guaranteed. If you missed out on these and you would like to know what it's like to order some of Leonardo's corals online, I just uploaded an unboxing video, so go check it out if you haven't seen it. And on top of all the Acros, he also brought some really spicy little chalice frags, some flower pot corals and the infamous King Bounce mushroom. This was a really cute display tank by Ocean and Lake. A perfect demonstration of what an easy to care for reef aquarium with a high diversity of different soft corals and corallimorphs looks like. Because don't forget, Vivarium is mainly a freshwater event, so I think it's very important to show off some achievable and less intimidating results for all the people that want to get started with a known reef aquarium. Plus, they had this ultra cute pink street grass that I really want for my own tank now. This was Reef Corner, who probably had the largest assortment and diversity of LPS corals, from your bread and butter corals for beginners to the more unusual strains for collectors. They had a bit of everything, and the prices and offers were actually very reasonable, as you can see. This section of branching frog spawn and hammer corals was really impressive, and I'm sure a bunch of people left with not just one, but a small bouquet of hammer corals. A gorgeous Acanthophilia meat coral with a price tag to match. I'm sure whoever picked that one up will be very happy. Now, I had actually mistaken this funky little mushroom for a Ricordia florida until it was pointed out to me that it's actually a type of Discosoma. A very unique grafted Cyphastria and a variety of gold chalices were one of my highlights here, but my personal favorites were these rainbow Cycloceras and the Diaceras fragilis. Now this is something really impressive, and I'm not talking about the most gorgeous frags of Bleeding Apple Bower Banky for $50, which you bet I had one backed up as soon as I saw them. No, this is actually not a store. This was a school project based in Denmark where the students take care of the aquariums, fish and corals. And they were selling some of their aquaculture corals, like those hammer corals, or even those really chunky frags of Crazy T Montipora palavenensis. Aside from the beautiful corals on display, they also had some pretty special fish you don't see every day. Two tiny golden trevally that closely followed that Klein's butterfly fish wherever it went, which is actually their natural behavior, as juveniles like to follow larger fish, sharks or even turtles. They also had a small yellow boxfish, which is just one of those fish you wish you could keep in your own reef tank. And as a cherry on top, they had one of my all-time favorite invertebrates, the anemone crab. It's just so fascinating to watch them filter particles and food from the water column all day long. Pink Corals had a gorgeous specimen of the lesser known fluted moon coral that really sets itself apart from other moon corals with those super tall corallites. The smaller frags of the same species had this beautiful pink and red splatter coloration that glowed so bright you could practically spot it from across the room. I think it's really cool and refreshing when stores show some of the more experimental setups. This particular vase tank from Reef Products was featuring a couple of different strains of green star polyps, pulsing xenia, zoanthids and even a small Montipora. Overall, not the most demanding or special corals, but it really set itself apart from everything else with a small bundle of cuttlefish eggs that were positioned prominently in the center, which you can't see because my friend Owen from the UK purchased them literally 2 minutes before I was able to record this footage, so thanks Owen. What kind of video would this be if I didn't mention how cool it was to talk to some of the people I rarely get to meet in the flesh, like Leonardo from Leonardo's Reef, whose corals are currently playing in the background, Pablo from Easy Reefs, who was giving out some of the best freebies at the entire show, and other cool people like I've met Julian Sprung and I've met the Sea Friendly Reefer, and I've seized the opportunity and had some very interesting conversations with Felix from Tonzi about their newest wave makers, and Sven from Tropic Marine, who told me all about their latest products. But of course, everybody else who traded stickers with me, you guys are the best. This is Receive at Home, a store from France, and they were kind of hidden in the smaller upstairs part of the show, but they had a bunch of high-end collector corals, predominantly LPS, and they had this really cool wall coral that I just noticed while editing. I really like it, and I probably should have bought it right then and there when I had the chance. A couple of select SPS corals made it into the mix, mainly these really cool Montipora palavenensis, some frags of Jason Fox Flame Acro, which are really hard to come by here in Europe, and these really funky little frags of what I can only assume is Acropora gimbifera. Those are some really pretty rainbow chalice frags that have all the colors they should have, and they're not too small either, which is usually the problem with these. This is a very juicy OG bounce mushroom that Owen, the cuttlefish egg guy, took home with him. They also had a plethora of super nice encrusting corals of all sorts. I don't think these were grafted, but I was very intrigued by these double frags of Pavona moldavensis. Before I show you guys the corals I brought home with me, here's the stunning display tank from Debo, a Dutch pet store. Guys, I'm not joking when I say I spent quite some time just standing in front of this tank, enjoying all the fish and corals. The scape of this tank was very unique, with its lifted rock structure that resembles an overhang cliff. Whoever set this tank up got some nice inspiration from the ocean and placed some sponges and non-photosynthetic corals upside down under the cliff. A true mixed reef with some of my favorite fish like this blue leopard wrasse or the diamond tail flasher wrasse. A pink dart goby, some pretty pink antheas, and a couple of tiny hippo and purple tanks. But let's not forget the show-size red carpet anemone that had a tiny little porcelain crab. I love it. The theme of filter feeders continued on the sandbed with a couple of feather dusters, more NPS corals, and a couple of clams. This torch garden was bordering on perfection. And if you love all of these red sponges, soft corals and gorgonians as much as me, please be aware that you need to feed them on a regular basis with phytoplankton, otherwise you're not gonna have them for very long. Last but not least, here is the haul of Vivarium/MACE 2023. First off, we have the Golden Nugget Bernard Pora from Ricordia Farm. We have a beautifully patterned Bleeding Apple Bower Banky from the Random After School College. The Jason Fox Burning Banana Stylo from Ocean Shop. And this is the Stratosphere Zoanthid I traded, which is already producing some new baby polyps. A forest fire mushroom and some blue hornets and some ice fire zoanthids that my friend Rick gave me, who also drove us around in the Netherlands. So Rick, thank you so much for driving us around. What corals would you have bought, and do you think I missed out on something? Let me know in the comments down below. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, maybe leave a like and subscribe to the channel because I've got a lot more eye candy to show you very soon.